So you're thinking about a future in Canada. That's amazing. But you've probably run into this one big thing, the CELPIP test. It can sound pretty intimidating, right? Well, don't worry. In this guide, we're going to pull back the curtain and break it all down for you. We'll make it simple, clear, and show you how you can totally succeed. Ready? Let's dive in. Seriously, planning a move to Canada is such an exciting time. There's so much ahead. But yeah, there are definitely a few boxes you've got to check first. And yep, for pretty much everyone, a huge one is proving your English skills. I know, it can feel like this massive wall you have to climb. But honestly, our whole goal here today is to show you that it's a wall you can absolutely get over. Which, of course, brings us to the big question. So what is this CELPIP test really like anyway? What can you actually expect? Let's get right into it and find out. Okay, first things first, what is the CELPIP? Let's get into the basics. So think of the CELPIP as an all-in-one English test made specifically for Canada. If you're looking at immigration or getting a professional designation there, this is almost certainly the test you're going to need to take. And, you've probably wondered what CELPIP even stands for. Well, it's an acronym for, get this, the Canadian English Language Proficiency Index Program. Yeah, it's a total mouthful, right? That's exactly why everyone just calls it CELPIP. Okay, now this is really, really important, so pay close attention. There are actually two different versions of the CELPIP. First, you've got the CELPIP General test. This is the big one. It covers everything: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. This is the one you need for things like permanent residency or professional stuff. Then there's the CELPIP General LS test. The LS stands for listening and speaking. That's all it tests. And this one is used for citizenship applications. Seriously, figuring out which one is for you is your absolute first step. All right, so for the rest of this guide, we're going to zoom in on that big one, the general test. Let's take a quick look inside at the 4 different sections. First up, you've got the listening section. This part takes, around 47 to 55 minutes. And what's cool is that it's all about real-life situations, so you're not listening to boring academic lectures. You're hearing things like everyday chats, snippets from the news, and regular discussions. Next up is reading. And you've got about an hour for this one. Here, you'll be doing things like reading through emails, looking at a diagram and figuring out how to use the information, and understanding different people's opinions. So again, it's all super practical, real-world stuff. Then we move on to writing. You'll get somewhere between 53 and 60 minutes for this part. And they are just 2 main things you have to do: write an email and answer some survey questions. And stick with me, because we're going to look at a real example of this in just a minute. And last but not least, we have the speaking section. This is the shortest part of the whole test, only about 15 to 20 minutes. And it's pretty straightforward. You'll get prompts asking you to do things like give a friend some advice, share a personal story, or state your opinion on something. And yep, it's all recorded right through your headset. Okay, so that's the what. But what about the how? As in, how is this thing actually scored? Let's make this super clear and look at a real example of how they evaluate your writing. So when they're looking at your writing, they're basically checking for 4 main things. First is content and coherence, which is just, do your ideas make sense and flow well? Then there's vocabulary. Are you using a good range of words correctly? Third is readability. How easy is it to read? Your grammar, spelling, punctuation. And finally, task fulfillment. This one's simple. Did you actually answer the question they asked? Okay, let's look at a real-world prompt. Here the task is to write an email to the head librarian. The goal? Convince them to keep the library open 7 days a week. So you've got to talk about why the library is important, explain why the current schedule is a problem for you, and give some ideas for how people would use it on those extra days. All right, now check this out. This is part of a real answer that scored a level 12. That's the highest score you can possibly get. You can see it's super polite, it's got great details, and it's really persuasive. It sounds like a real email, But hang on, this is the most important part right here. This is the official breakdown of that top-scoring answer. The strengths? Exactly what you'd think. Super clear, great words, perfect tone. But now look at the weaknesses. Even this level 12 answer had some small grammar mistakes, like a sentence fragment and a missing comma. And that is the secret right there. You don't have to be perfect. They care more about clear communication than about getting every single comma right. That's a huge thing to remember. All right, now for the good stuff. Let's talk about some key tips and strategies you can actually use on test day to get the best score possible. Being good at taking notes can be an absolute lifesaver, especially during that listening section. The biggest mistake people make is trying to write full sentences. Don't do that. Instead, use your own symbols and abbreviations to go faster. Just jot things down in point form. And really, just focus on grabbing the most important stuff. Keywords, names, dates, anything to help you keep up. And while we're on listening, here are a few more quick-fire tips. If you miss a word, don't panic. Just focus on what you did hear. Always try to get the main idea. A great trick is to cross out the answers you know are wrong first. And whatever you do, never leave a question blank. Seriously, a guess is always, always better than an empty answer. Okay, I know that was a lot of information. You're probably thinking, where do I even start preparing? Well, the best part is you don't have to spend a ton of money. There are some amazing free resources out there to get you started. So, where should you go first? Definitely check out the official CELPIP channel on YouTube. It's packed with webinars and videos explaining different strategies. And here's the big one. Go to the official website and make an account. Why? Because you get 2 full practice tests completely free. Trust me, that is the single best way to know what the real test feels like. And that's our look inside the CELPIP test. Look, it's a big step on your path to Canada, for sure. But hopefully you see now that it's not some impossible monster. It's something you can totally prepare for and something you can absolutely conquer. So I guess the only question left is the one for you. Are you ready to take that next step?